Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Today I have a very special guest with me. I have Lauren Chiren, who is a really founder and a creator of Women of Certain Stage, really a leading cutting edge training company for menopause trainings for corporate organizations, but also she's certifying menopause coaches across the world. And really, Lauren has been doing that for a decade, for 10 years. So I'm so excited for this conversation. Of course, we'll talk about menopause, and if you're listening, maybe this is going to be resonating if you're starting perimenopause or menopause, but also if you have clients that may be facing menopause challenging as you're supporting them, this is going to be really valuable conversation. We'll talk about the symptoms, the issues, but also what a great opportunity this is to add to your services as a business owner. Lauren, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here on the podcast. Maybe before
Elena,
we start, why don't you introduce yourself?
thanks so much for the opportunity to chat. And I left my job in my early 40s thinking I had early onset dementia. I was a senior exec in financial services, leading global transformation projects and programs, and I thought everything was hunky-dory. Little did I know that I had gone through a premature menopause. So I actually left my job thinking I had early onset dementia. So when my doctor said to me it was just menopause, I was the happiest menopausal woman on the planet. But that led me to start digging into and learning about menopause because I realized that I hadn't known what menopause was, despite having a background in human performance, anatomy and physiology, personal training, sports therapy, and all of these things. I was clueless. And I discovered very quickly that most of us are brought up not knowing what menopause is or how we can support ourselves. So I've spent the last 10 years learning about it, sharing what I'm learning with organizations and with individuals so that they can go and help other people as well.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I think this is just, and I think so many women, even now, there's so many taboos. There's so many women don't really fully understand their symptoms. But also, I think what's really interesting is even when they go to the doctor and say, I suspect there's something's going on with me. How many times even the doctors don't know this stuff and they don't misdiagnose them. They send them in sorts of different routes and ways. So, and I know, for example, I know you mentioned before that you inside your business, so in menopause coach certification, you have people that actually have masters in menopause still come and do training at you. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think I was really blown away when I had people apply to join the menopause coach diploma, and I would be asking, what is it you'd like to achieve from this? What's your background? What are the relevant skills and experience, if any, because there is no prerequisite, just a willingness to learn. And I had people who have masters in psychology, looking at psychological aspects of menopause. I've got people who are medics, who are nurses working on oncology. I've had a few mental health nurses, occupational health nurses. So a lot of people in the medical field will come to this. I've had people with masters just in menopause in the workplace and all sorts of different things that people have specialized in or done PhDs in. And then they're still coming to do this program because it's practical. It's practical skills, it's practical knowledge, and it means that they can go and apply what they're learning with the menopause coaching from the minute that they graduate as well. So they're getting to meet lots of global experts, they're getting lots of great skills, and they have an off-the-shelf, ready-to-go program that they can go and share with their client base going forward as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, you not only you've been doing this for 10 years, which is so amazing, but also you've been advising the US government, the UK government, you've been training FTSE 100 companies and corporate executives, HR professionals in menopause. And you've now what? You've certified 500 students, menopause coaches across the world.
Yeah, we've had people from every continent now. So we've certified, as you said, over 500 people as menopause coaches, menopause champions, and they're from every walk of life that you can possibly imagine, from a stay-at-home mum, from someone running their own small consultancy business who wants to add menopause because they're seeing a lot of their own clients coming through who are struggling with menopause, and for people in corporate organizations as well. So it's a really mixed audience, but the commonality is that people are passionate about learning and really keen to help and support other people as well. So yeah, it's great because we get to, as much as I've got experts and I've got loads of knowledge and read all the papers, we get to hear firsthand from people in Asia, in America, in Australia, all around Europe, in the Middle East. And everyone sharing that knowledge is just such a melting pot for learning and growing and developing. So yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to run this program.
It's so amazing. And who is this for? Like, who would be best suited for, if someone's listening right now, they're just kind of thinking, is this for me? Is that something I should be doing? Who is this best suited for?
We get a lot of people who are running their own business as a coach or a consultant. We notice that there's kind of different groups of people that will come through the program. So people that are helping other people tend to be those that come into that, and that's actually a really broad range of people. But it's someone who is either working with a client base who is directly experiencing menopause and needs help and support, or it's someone who is working with an organization where menopause is an issue that's coming up. So it could be an HR consultancy, a D&I consultancy. On the other hand, it could be a physical therapist, a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, or another complementary therapist. So it's quite a broad range. And we also get people who have decided that this is going to be their retirement project. They're done with their working life and in so far as being in the corporate world, and they're looking at having this skill base built up so that they're ready to do this when they leave the working environment.
Oh, that's interesting. So they maybe someone is an HR consultant, maybe passionate, maybe went through menopause themselves. Probably like so many women will tell stories, had a horrendous experience, felt deeply unsupported at work, but also by their doctors. Probably stayed kind of in this hidden silence and didn't know what was wrong with them for a long time. And I guess there's
Mhm.
a united passion for people to say, well, I don't want other women to go through what I went through. So how can I make a difference?
Exactly.
Which is so, so beautiful. And I think so many people, women will resonate with that. And I guess in terms of client work, especially if people listening, maybe they have a health coaching business, maybe they
Mm.
have a life coaching business, why why they should be thinking about that? How is this gonna, I guess, what are you seeing in terms of your clients, how it really supports them in that way?
Yeah, I think from people who are already qualified as coaches or working in that space, when I trained as a coach, I was brought up to believe that as long as you're properly trained as a coach professionally, you can coach anybody. The reality is that if you're coaching somebody who's going through menopause and neither they nor you are aware that that's the issue, you are not going to know the right questions to ask them. You're not going to be able to get to the root cause of what's actually going on for them. So, any action plans, any goals, any objectives that are being set, the pathway from getting where people up from where they are to where they need to be is probably not going to be anything more than a sticky plaster. I know that from my own experience. I had an executive coach when I was in corporate. I was having challenges with my relationship with my boss. I was having challenges with, being focused in meetings and be able to speak up. My confidence had dipped. I was experiencing extreme anxiety that I'd never experienced before. And everything that we did kind of worked in the short term, but it never uncovered the root cause, which was menopause. So when you qualify as a menopause coach, not only are you aware, you can see the signs in your client, you get to ask the right questions. You have a framework that you can take someone through that we've taken over 2,000 people through now. We know it works because we've had feedback from the clients. We can see the difference that it's made. So the fact that in 7 weeks you can get someone who is really struggling to a place where they're back in control, they're feeling confident again, they've got clarity back. That's just such a powerful thing to be able to do with your clients. And you can deliver that in many ways, either one-to-one, one-to-many, workshops, there's no limitation on how you can move this forward.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? How this menopause really affects women in so many different ways. Of course, there's like weight gain, so many women talk about. But also, you're right, there's this on top of the body changes and body composition and kind of not feeling your best, as of course, but also this confidence, emotional thing.
Yeah.
The lack of confidence, even if you were so confident before. So, certainly for someone who is doing leadership coaching, business coaching, executive coaching, and you want to really support your women, you think, what's happening? I don't understand it. They have all the tools, all the strategies, but why is it they're not maybe getting the results that you would expect them as a client?
Yeah.
This is so powerful to just have that in the toolkit, isn't it?
And I think the other thing, I've been speaking to a few people this week because we have a program that's starting quite soon at the time of recording. And what was really fascinating was I was talking to these women and they're going through perimenopause themselves right now. And they were trying to decide, should they come to me as a coaching client, i.e., I coach them through their menopause, or should they come onto the menopause coach diploma and learn how to coach other people? But the beauty of coming onto the diploma is they get both. Because as part of that diploma, I'm taking them through the entire coaching program to teach them it. So they're experiencing it as a coachee. They're learning it as a student and they're taking each other through it and taking practice clients through it as well. So they have that personal benefit of going through the program. So it's a double, it's personal and professional development.
That's so interesting, isn't it? That's so interesting. It is powerful insight because I'm sure so many people listening will be like, "Well, I'm interested to learn that for myself." Or, as you may be in it or it's coming, just being aware of it so that you're prepared. But actually, this is a kind of it really hits two objectives in one. Not only do you add something additional to your business, or maybe, as you rightly say, something that you can fall back on. Even if starting your own business or run your business is an objective and you're happy with your corporate career, how nice is it to
Yeah.
have something in your back pocket that no matter what, you can rely on, even if it's just a side hustle, something you do as a little bit of fun, but actually that you look to maybe one day to grow. I mean, that's
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things that we see a lot of people doing is setting up community groups. So just getting together with other women in their local village, in their local area. I don't know what I'm saying there. That's a menopausal moment, right? So in their local area. And I think that's invaluable. Not everyone's doing this because they want to go and earn money from it. A lot of people are doing it because they are being genuinely altruistic. They don't want to see other people going through the struggle that they went through. So, everyone's circumstances are different and people get to choose how they use this going forward. And I love hearing my grad stories. And the great thing is we stay in touch for another year. They have a whole year support afterwards with additional training and new materials. So during that year, we hear all the grad stories, we hear what people are doing, they collaborate with people from all around the world. Yeah, it's what gets me out of bed every single day.
It's very special, isn't it? What would you say to someone who is thinking, well, I don't know, why do I need diploma? Why do I need a live diploma? When I can just maybe read a book or two, maybe I can just research it on articles online, maybe I can listen to
Oh.
podcasts. Isn't that enough?
I'm laughing because I wish it was enough. I wish it was enough. There is so much conflicting information out there, and trying to figure out fact from fiction, trying to understand what is science-backed and research-based is really hard. And even some of the people that we might see as big names in the media who are talking out about this, they're talking about their personal experience. They're talking about what they went through, the solutions that worked for them. And that might be okay for someone that you're working with, but the chances are it's not. We know that everyone going through menopause has their own unique journey and everyone needs their own unique solution. And that's what we train our coaches to do to be able to deliver that. If you could do an online program, you don't know if it's been produced by AI, you don't know if it's up to date, you never get a chance to meet anybody, you've not got anyone giving you any kind of feedback on your coaching skills, your listening skills, you haven't got access to a growing library of papers and research and, trusted sources of information, trusted podcast books and papers that people can refer to. And also, I think that there is huge value that when you're supporting someone going through this time of life, you've got to be aware that there's significant mental health challenges that people experience going through menopause. There's a risk of suicide and suicide ideation. You need to be able to understand what those signs are and have a group of people that you can refer to make sure that you're safe and your client too is safe. So there's many, many considerations that you're not going to get just from reading a book or from a podcast or just doing a really cheap online course. They are great background information, and I do advise people to find those trusted resources to keep themselves up to date. But in terms of making sure that you're supporting your clients the best way possible, you need to make sure you've got a group of experts around you. And I'm talking about doctors, sexual health experts, pelvic health experts, divorce coaches, nutritionists, personal trainers, people that are actually working in the field today that can give you the right support for your clients or even be referrals for your clients as well. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? It's not like this is, I think, what makes this space so difficult and so unique because every woman will have different symptoms. This is why, doctors are not stupid. Why would doctor misdiagnose something like menopause? Why is it that they're not aware of this, even though they were educated? It's because every case, I guess, is different. And sometimes it can be hiding as blood pressure or all sorts of things. And you can be sent in multiple tests and directions where actually this can, it's not that you can just say if you experience these three symptoms, this is it, this is what you have, and this is what you have to do, here's the recipe for success. I think this what makes it just such a different. This is why, menopause coach and really getting deep into understanding what this is all about and how can women is so critical.
Yeah. And I think, doctors are still not being educated properly on menopause. So we have a lot of great doctors out there doing great work, but sadly, they haven't had that specialist training on menopause. So often people will be told they're stressed, they're depressed, they're being put on anti-anxiety medication, antidepressant medication, or they'll be told they're too young or they're too old or to just get on with it. There's so many ways that people are being dismissed. I don't know if people would go as far as saying medical gaslighting, but if the doctor is going to be doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they've got. But unfortunately, this is an area where we still have a long way to go to get all our doctors routinely trained in menopause. And I do, like you said, I see people who have, over the course of maybe 3 years, they've been for brain scan because their headaches have gotten out of control and they think they've got a tumor. They've been for MRIs because their joints are suddenly hurting them and causing them so much problem that they can't do some of the activities they used to do. Or they've been for an ECG because they thought they've had a heart attack because they've had palpitations and anxiety attacks, which they've never had before. And all the tests come back clear, clear, clear. But they know something's not right. So the anxiety levels creep up because no one's listening to them or supporting them. And then they get to a position where they're in a real pickle. But if we're training someone as a coach, we can put all that information together really quickly and get people to take the right information back to their doctor and get the right medical support as well. And that's something that's really, really fundamental. We need to stop spending 3 or 4 years before we wake up and realize that we're in perimenopause. We need to recognize that it's happening, know what to do about it, and get on. And that's the beautiful thing about being a menopause coach. You're in a position and you've got the power to be able to support your clients to be able to do that. And that's what I'm all about.
So powerful. And of course, the demand, as we talk more about this, as people's understanding of menopause becomes higher, of course, what happens is the demand for menopause coaches is growing, growing and growing and growing. People are literally Googling for how can I find menopause support, menopause coaching. So if anything, this is such a hot area and such an area of growth that we'll see more of, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about this quite a lot in terms of, where does it sit in the market, what's going on. And I know every time that I open up the enrollment for the Menopause Coach Diploma, the people that I get coming through the doors and asking questions and trying to understand how it fits with their business and how can they use it going forward just blows me away because we've literally got people in every single, I think we've got people now qualified in over 30 countries. So that tells me that there's a need. That tells me there's a demand. And when we get into a country for the first time, I always love the fact that if someone says to me, am I the first person in my country? But I know as soon as they've qualified, they're going to tell other people and there'll be other people coming to collaborate with them. Because whilst we want to be the only one offering the service, the reality is there's going to be 1.2 billion women in menopause by 2030.
Wow.
1.2 billion. And even if I hit my goal, which is training 20,000 menopause coaches, we're still not going to touch all those people. And in my hometown where I live, I think I've trained about 8 or 9 coaches now, and they've all got ample work because there's so much to do. Corporate, working with corporate, just think about the education sector, think about the healthcare sector. Over 70% of colleagues are women, and of them, over 47% are in peri to postmenopause. So there's just an incredible number of people desperate for help and support. Organizations, over 30% of organizations in the UK now have menopause policies, menopause guidance documents. They're putting more practical support in place and employing coaches to do that. They're sending people to me to train them as menopause coaches. So it's definitely growing. It's been a long time coming, but the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen a massive uptake in this work. So yeah, it's great. It's really heartwarming.
It's really great. And I think that's the biggest sign where even big organizations, the small, big organizations, they kind of, well, 10 years ago, I mean, 15 years ago, no one even talked about it. I mean, you would never have like a lunch and learn, a training session about menopause. It was just not something that would ever happen. Where now this is kind of becoming a norm, becomes still very early days, but becomes a conversation. They have
Mm,
policies. But one thing we're realizing now is just one lunch and learn session isn't
mhm.
enough. And I think
Yeah.
this is where organizations are also getting it. The fact that they want more women in leadership at higher positions, they want more people on their board that are women, but actually they don't have the resources or they don't have policies or tools to support those women. And I think suddenly starting to get it.
Yeah, I think one of the key things when I'm working with large corporate organizations is the first thing we do is look at their demographics and understand how many people have they got in menopausal age. And then we know that 1 in 8 of those women will leave as a result of lack of help and support of menopause. So one of the questions I get asked by HR when it comes up to quarterly annual budget time is how many people, how much is it going to cost me for exits? How much is it going to cost me for settlement agreements, non-disclosures? And when we come up with a number, and it's usually a very large number because it tends to be senior leaders as well. So there's a big gap in skills, knowledge, and experience walking out the door, never mind the money. But we come up with this great big number of what it's going to cost them. And I'm like, but why don't you just invest in some training and invest in a couple of coaches in the business? So when we have that conversation, all of a sudden it's kind of the penny drops because the business case is overwhelmingly positive to do that training, to have that strategic approach within the organization, to make the culture change and to have the support in place as well. So yeah, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the individual going through menopause. It's a win for the people that have to manage them, and it's a win for the organization because it hits their bottom line in a positive way. So yeah, I obviously I can talk about this until the
Yeah.
cows come home. But yeah, I'm really passionate about just supporting organizations to make big change.
Such a powerful thing. And also for people, business owners listening, this is such an opportunity. If you want more corporate business, if you want more those lucrative contracts, and this is an opportunity because more and more we're going to see organization really hiring coaches, sponsoring their own staff to become coach. Of course, you see that as clients come and the organization actually pay for their certification,
Mhm.
for their diploma. But
Mhm.
this is where the demand is. Like companies suddenly realize, oh, hold on a second, I can just get support. Like they've been paying for executive coaching for many, many
Mhm.
years.
Yeah.
Now realize that actually this is perhaps just as valuable, if not even more valuable for women. So powerful. So tell us more. So I guess the diploma is when it started on the 14th of March, right? And it's delivered live. And
Yep.
it's of course you, but also this amazing experts. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we have 7 modules. The first module is all health and hormones, and that's delivered with some of the most incredible brains that I've ever come across when it comes to health, hormones, women's health. So we've got Dr. Vikram Talolekar, who sits on the board of the British Menopause Society. We've got Dr. Farhat Uden, who is a British Menopause Society qualified coach who's also lived in Hong Kong for 3 years. We have Michelle Hindle, who's a breast cancer and Macmillan specialist nurse, and she's done amazing work. She's also a grad from the program. So she actually came through the program thinking she was perimenopausal, but she turned out she had sinusitis. So that was quite an interesting mixture of, symptoms and diagnoses and self-diagnosis. But she learned through the program that she just didn't know about perimenopause. And one of the things when someone's gone through cancer treatment, often they can't take hormone replacement therapy. And so the nurses are very limited in what they can do to support them going forward. So what Michelle's done is she set up a whole network of new menopause clinics in the north of England with colleagues and brought in complementary therapists, brought in other people to run these clinics on the back of doing the menopause coach program. So she comes back in as a cancer nurse specialist. We have a associate professor from University College London who dives into the menstrual cycle and why that's so important to understand. Then we move into the coaching and listening skills. We've got a couple of amazing executive coaches who run that and take us through that. And then I take you through the menopause plan, which is a 7-week coaching program, the signature program that you're going to learn as you go through the whole diploma. And that is where we dive into everything from mindset, hydration, nutrition, movement, all the things that we need to do to successfully navigate menopause. And then we have mind and body, where we have Jen Grosso, who is a former New York attorney turned CrossFit champion. Now she works with corporate America looking at building confidence in senior leaders. We have Laura Dixon based up in Canada, who is also ex-financial services. She's a personal trainer and a clinical emotional freedom technique specialist and positive psychology coach. So she comes and does an amazing tapping session with you and teaches you how to use that for yourself and your clients too. We dive into yoga nidra, into mindfulness, into meditation, into journaling, all sorts of different modalities. Then we have, I'm sure I've missed a few people, we have Chris Williams, who's a 7-figure business coach, and she's amazing. So she runs a heart-led amazingly successful business where she helps you think about your pricing, your positioning, your marketing, how you're going to get yourself out there. And then we wrap up with the final session, which is coming back to me, where I just get really practical again. And it's like, what are your daily repeatable actions that you need to do to get yourself out there, known that you're going to be adding on this expertise into your business or setting yourself up as a menopause coach, however you're choosing to move this going forward. And then you have another year of support. We bring in more experts. We're looking at pelvic health, sexual health, transgender menopause. There's so many different topics, smoking menopause, sleeping menopause. There's like a whole load of experts that we have in that come through the program that you get to meet and collaborate with as well.
Wow, amazing. So it's delivered live. So I know one of the issues, of course, people have is even when you have training material that's recorded, most people don't watch it. Or if they have questions, they're like kind of stuck there. They don't really know how to ask. Well, actually, here you, the group of other people, you build in relationship.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
an amazing environment just to even learn, as you say, for yourself. I mean, that's just incredible, or to gain all those skills. But not only can you learn it for yourself, but actually use it as part of your career, as part of your business. Powerful.
Yeah. It's I
Yeah.
was going to say, I was just reflecting as you said there, most people don't finish online courses. We know that it's less than 15% of people that buy online courses and don't complete them. That's really scary. So that's why I think people like to turn up and do this live and be with other people who are in the same journey, in the same pathway as them. So yeah, I love the community, especially the fact that it's a global community.
Yeah, global community, global support, but also it's not, so what is it, 12 weeks live and then they have 12 months of support? How does that work?
It's 18 weeks. So we start on the 14th of March and each cohort starts. So this one will start on the 14th of March. We will run for 18 weeks. We have a break for the 18th of April for Passover and Easter Friday, whichever you're celebrating or not at all, just in respect. We finish on the 18th of July and then we have 12 months ongoing support where people have access to the learning portal, all their training sessions, all the materials. They have a lifetime license, so they're not limited. They don't have to come back every year to repay the license. They've got that for keeps. They get all the materials, all the scripts, all the framework, everything they need to go and work straight away. And then they have access to 4 more 90-minute training sessions in that following year as well. So it's a really powerful way to keep the cohort together and make sure everyone is doing what they want to do because life's busy, right? And things can get in the way. So my job is to make sure that people make use of what they've invested in themselves and in the materials and get out there and use this and how they want to use it.
Amazing, amazing. So, so powerful. And I think it's just also for business owners. I know so many people listening and so many people in my audience and my clients is differentiation and really standing out in the sea of other competitors and other people doing exactly the same thing is the biggest issue. It's the issue that's not going to go away if anything is going to increase. So if we think about from now onwards, there's going to be more competition. So I think this is especially if you listen in something that you're passionate or drawn to, this is another way to really differentiate yourself amongst other people. Like if you're a health coach, but you're specializing in menopause, that becomes really, really powerful because especially
Yeah.
now, clients don't want generic advice. You think about if you're a woman over 45 or 50, you're not gonna want a fitness coach or a health coach who's 25 because you know she's not gonna have she's not gonna have kind of an understanding of your issue. So I think the specialization and this differentiation is the key for all businesses, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting actually. I mean, I am a personal trainer and sports therapist, and even as a PT, I was feeling the need to have someone come and give me a bit of a kick up the backside recently. So I was checking people out online as you do, even though I know lots of, I wanted someone I didn't know. I wanted someone who could challenge me that I couldn't kind of just get around, because often if you're working with somebody, you know how to get around working with them. So I found this person and she was former athlete. I'm also ex-GB judo, so I wanted someone that really knew their stuff. And we had a conversation. It went really well. She set me up with her head coach. And in that first 15 minutes with the head coach, I knew straight away that she did not understand the postmenopausal body because her approach was inappropriate. The types of exercises from the get-go were not the right exercises. And it really scared me that someone could be positioning themselves for the over 40 market without any of that expertise. So, I had a conversation. They're actually going to come and train with us now, which is great. But it was really quite scary thinking that they were completely convinced that what they were doing was the right approach. What it would have done for me would have put me in an injured position. I would have ended up getting injured and being out of training. I'd probably have lost my mojo again and I'd have been back to square one. So, whilst we're not training people to be personal trainers, we are training people to know how to find a good route to getting people more active, making sure that they can signpost their clients to the type of things to look for with a personal trainer or with a nutritionist or with whoever else they might decide to go and work with. So I think these are the things that we need to be mindful that our bodies change and we need to work differently. We can still do everything. We're amazing, right? We've got tons of skills, knowledge, experience. There's so much that we can do at this time of life, but we need to have the right advice to keep us well, healthy, and safe.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I think it's you're absolutely right, isn't it? It's one thing, it's an opportunity, but also it's actually not understanding this as a coach or as a business, you can be putting your clients at risk and in danger.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's just the real truth about it. If this is a blind spot, and I think this is the reality for so many business owners, not that they do it maliciously, it's just a blind spot. They don't know what they don't know.
No.
But it can be putting their clients at serious risk and dangers.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's really is so powerful. Amazing. So of course, if people want to learn more about this, we'll leave details in the show notes to the training that you recently did that they can watch, maybe get more information. And if they wanted to have a chat just to kind of brainstorm to see whether does it fit with their goals, is this going to be the right next step? How can they go about that?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have all the information in the show notes, but equally jump onto womenofacertainstage.com and just ping me a message through the website, or you can contact me directly at hello@womenofacertainstage.com. Hello@womenofacertainstage.com.
Amazing. And what we'll do is we'll leave all the details in the show notes so you guys can check it out. But thank you, Lauren. That's been amazing. I think so many women, perhaps right now, Googling, researching it, but actually just having this conversation to understand it's such a huge opportunity, but also this is something that every business owner, every executive coach, every leadership coach, and frankly, every HR leader, and even just a business leader need to understand, be aware of, and
Yeah.
really support their women in their organization. I think it's just there's no going back to where we've been before. There's
Sadly.
only things that need to get better. Um,
Anyway,
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren. It's been a pleasure having you on your podcast, and I speak to you soon.
thank you.